Okay. It's going to be Sleep Fest.
Sleep Fest 2023. Welcome to the PARAcast. I'm your host, Amos the Boss Hernandez, joining you live to your ears 21 days later since our last podcast. But we're glad to have you guys back. I needed the rest. Joining me tonight, he studied the Nicole Brown Simpson murder for almost 30 years. It turns out all the evidence points to the X-Men Wolverine or O.J. Simpson. It's Steve Koski.
Yep, I'm still out on the golf course looking for that killer. I know he's out here somewhere. All those killers are golfers.
And for the last time, the DMV doesn't need pictures of his sexual organs for donation purposes. They just need his damn birth date. It's Robert Wyatt.
Hey, I'm trying. Like, I give them things that I think the people want.
There's all these water bottles and quarters by the side of it, just for size reference, just for if you need the donation quick. There's skin tones. He's got the whole.
It's called marketing, Tom. You gotta really get some excitement. Even if Robert's not going to live, his junk will.
It's got like the skin tone thing, so it doesn't get mismatched onto somebody. You know, somebody pulls it like, why is this thing so bright? Anyways, doesn't match my teeth. So
was he in the pool?
Match my teeth. That's not a good shot. Get the head of coloring in here.
Tan this thing up a bit. So anyway, yeah. So I've been working 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. every morning, and so
6 days a week,
5 days a week, maxing out at hours 60. I think I did 63 hours in 5 days. Like literally on last Saturday, I started Saturday with 9 hours remaining. So that means I did 51 hours in 4 days.
Okay, so they're whipping you as hard as they can on hours.
Well, I would say this: they're whipping me as hard as they can on hours, but it's literally 7 hours of work packed into a 12-hour day. Like it's a lot of get there. Here's the setup for the building tonight. Put all the trailers on the doors and set up these modules. We have these.
So you're not on the road?
No, I am parking lot only. I'm parking lot gang. As far as sweater gang,
is that good gang? Is that the lowest of the feeder gang?
Well, it's kind of like it's low key the best because it's very much a big helping of paid downtime, and so we have like these extensions. They're called modules, and what happens is we need to park more cars on it, and so we have these big old things that weigh 20,000 pounds. They have rollers in them and bay doors, and we take that, we back that onto the building, and then we have an extension module that we back in front of onto that module.
Wait, you're adding an extension to the building?
Yes, we have plenty of extensions. I think we have seven extensions
What's the
to the
point of
building
that?
To be able to load more package cars. So
It just makes the car longer?
No, so what happens is so we have one big long belt that goes down the building, and package cars are backed up to the belt, right? Well, you only have so much area for the belt before you run out of places to put package cars.
And so you put some extension, last you put like three more trailers at the end?
Belt goes north and south, and then you have extensions that come out east and west, and then people take packages and put them on these extensions or sortal that sends them down out into these little big 20,000 pound accessories that will hold 10 package cars on them. And so we get to the building and we back these modules so they're within a half an inch on each side onto the building. And then we back another module on top of that module's extension. So we have two extensions put together. And then we fill up all the doors with stuff. And then after that, you wait for a good, let's say Friday night, I waited for 4 hours for preload to start. So you just stand around and you walk around, you say hi to the few people that are sitting there. You do a couple laps around the building. You pick up trash that's in the yard. You watch a few YouTube videos. You collect sweater gang dues. And then stuff gets there, and then they start emptying out trailers. Then you frantically swap trailers so the operation keeps going. And then you're done swapping trailers, and then you have to wait for all the drivers to leave so that you can set up the building for the night. And then after that's done, boom, there's 12 to 13 hours already taken care of the night. And you just sit there in a parking lot and watch raccoons and, just drink water till you got to go use the bathroom. Then you go back to your car, turn on the heater, snuggle up, drink water till you got to use the bathroom. And that's a night.
You don't just hide out and sleep with the raccoon in the cab. And
I've found out the hard way that I am not a good 1 hour
wake, sleep.
I'm not a good one of those. I am so disoriented.
Cranky.
And then
Yeah.
I also have this terrible problem is if I think I need to be awake, I'll start dreaming that I'm up awake doing my job. But the secret will be I will still be asleep, which means nothing gets done in the real world. And so then I could get fired for that. But it's funny because I've been trying to sleep during the day, like 11 a.m. to whenever, like try to hopefully get up at 7 because then that's like 8 hours. And sometimes I make it to 5 or 6. And then I got this gigantic blackout tent for my bed. So it's a big tent.
What? The whole bed goes in it?
The whole bed goes into a tent. It is literally a tent that goes over your mattress, and you kind of tuck it in under the mattress.
Without a bottom?
Without a bottom. So it's just you build the tent, you put it on top, you secure it to the bed frame or whatever like that. Some 100-mile-an-hour tape or
But it's perfect blackout.
It's almost perfect blackout. It is dark enough, but at night you can't see your hand in front of your face. And then in the middle of the day, it's dark enough that you can't see the edge of the bed. So
you could just put a sleep mask on, right?
Yes, I know. I thought about the sleep mask just working, but then I'd feel the warmth on my face. But you go in there at night, and it's like a sensory deprivation tank. Like it was $150. I zip myself in at night, and I zip myself out of it, and I come out of there, and I just feel great. So I'm getting the hang of it. But it's been pretty fun. I did roll over onto my Glock with a flashlight the other night because I couldn't see it or feel it in the bed. But what are you gonna do?
Hello, bang! Bang! Tony blew his brains out. That's pretty cool. That actually makes some sense from a product perspective because it's hard to black out every little light in a room. Have 30 linear feet of space around pretty good shades, but the edges are all not blacked.
There's little light pollution coming in from everywhere. The nice thing about this thing too, it has secret benefits that they don't tell you about when you're ordering it from the old Amazon, which is 1, slight breezes at night. No more slight breezes at night. The tent kind of blocks them, so it's a very still kind of air.
Is it ventilated? It has to have some ventilation in it.
You can. It's just like a tent where you can unzip and have ventilation, where you have the solid piece, and then you have
it'll still be dark.
Mostly dark.
Tommy dies from asphyxiation.
Just have a can of
wind and
has a pinto bean attack. But so it's been pretty nice, and it stays at a pretty decent temperature. And then so when you take off your covers, you're not bombarded with the air conditioning or the heater going on the outside. Hit your skin. It's very, very serene and peaceful and still. And so at 40 years old, I'm now a big fan of bed tent. I'm also a bed tent gang. So it's been pretty great.
So how are you? Are you still transitioning back to day shift on the weekends? Are you trying to do?
I have to
shift.
I have to do this now. I do this shift because I run out of hours till the end of December, and then I'm allowed to go back to.
No, but I mean, on the 2 days you're not on the day and a half you're not working on the weekend.
It's one of these.
What do you do with your sleep schedule?
One of these things, like Saturday, I get done with work. I come home.
At what time you get done? At
10 a.m., 11:30, sometimes noon. I come home. I change stuff. I don't eat. I go to bed. Like Saturday, I got up, woke up, went and got Mike and Adam. We went to dinner, went bowling, came back. I slept for 8 hours, got up this morning, did my grocery shopping and my errands. I'm really tired right now because this is kind of like peak sleeping time. And then I'll get great sleep tonight. And then tomorrow at about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, 3 Benadryl go in the mouth, a big drink of water, and I try to sleep for like 5 hours. Try to fall asleep about 1 p.m., sleep for about 5 hours, and then get back into the shift for the rest of the week.
So your first shift back is Monday
10 p.m.
Night?
Yeah, Monday night
for Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah, it's a...
Ooh.
I would say it's RUFF, rough, but it's it's a weird experience. But anyway, welcome to your number fun podcast about firearms, 28 minutes in. So anyway, I was sitting there screwing around and looking at stuff, and Walther released their PDP steel. We had kind of seen a glimpse of this later on, which is a 40-ounce steel frame Walther PDP. Which,
what are you talking about? Like, I mean, they dropped that thing, and every single shill on the planet was like, "Hey, you guys, I got a steel frame gun, steel frame, got steel,
yep."
I'm like, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. The one thing that's kind of crazy about this, so like PDP is a great pistol. I really enjoy mine. I think it's a very accurate, very thought out pistol. But the steel frame version of your gun should not cost literally. What do you get a PDP now for? $500. You can get a PDP polymer one.
Pricey is what it is.
And the steel frame is $1,850.
Oh,
yeah.
That's why they
better come with a dot
and
12 magazines for that much money.
Like tell everybody to buy it, and turn their head and be like, oh yeah, I totally need 2 of these guns.
Yeah, it's a lot of scratch for that gun. And you know what? For a lot of people who are going to round shoot, the gun is the cheapest thing that we probably do. But that is still
even still $1,800 for a polymer for a striker fired gun is.
How's the trigger?
Supposed to be phenomenal.
Oh, you're not holding one?
Well, this is the standard PDP.
Not the steel.
Not the steel. And so this one has still a very good trigger. I mean, it has a little bit of play, but it has a pretty nice little break. And then the reset on the trigger is nice and short, so it's pretty good. It's not bad at all. But the other one has like the performance trigger that you can put in this, and where that has like almost no take up, like it's pretty much like 2 millimeters of take up breaks.
Wait, so you spend $1,800, then you have to put a better trigger in it?
Yeah, or it comes with that trigger. It comes with that trigger.
I got you.
The funny thing is too is like you can buy the polymer SD model or the new polymer competition model, which comes with the magwell and the performance trigger, and those things are like $150 more than the standard model. And then you add the steel frame port to it, and it's exponentially increases by like 2.5 or 3 times the cost of the standard one. But pretty good gun. I went out there and I shot this thing with Alex with the Siley Bull Pro Mega Doppler.
Quonset hut.
The Quonset hut. And I went out there and shot it. It's very, very accurate, very, very great little gun. But what's kind of crazy is that the PDP sight cut is so freaking deep that when I had the iron sights mounted to it, I was basically...
Quonset hut looks almost as wide as the grip.
It's wider than the grip.
Holy jeez.
But with the iron sights on it, I had to keep the dot so low, and the dot was literally being obscured by the iron sights sitting there floating in there because of how deep that PDP's cut is. But it's a great little blaster. I mean, if you kind of want something slightly different than a Glock that's pretty reliable and laser beam accurate, like they're and affordable and cheap and red dot ready, they're pretty awesome. Pretty awesome guns.
Make sure you get the plastic version.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you'll know the difference when they ring you up.
If you buy the steel frame version of the PDP, then all you're going to be able to afford is the Quonset hut version of the red dot.
Yeah, that's pretty much. You got to get the cheap Siley Bull red dot. All right, let's talk about what we've been up to. Robert, you've been gone.
I have been gone, but I'm back. I'm back, baby. No, we took our annual trip down to California, and that was a lot of fun. And came back.
You get thrown out of Disneyland?
Not this time. Okay. I was a good person. No,
his other Skype account got thrown out of Disneyland. This Skype account, this Skype account made it.
Jokes on them. I have aliases, but no, it was really funny down there. I don't like if you've ever been to places, you're standing in line and like there's people behind you, and they start talking about things that you know a lot about, and this is one of those situations where people start talking about things that you know a lot about, and there's this like inner dialogue of like, okay, they're wrong about that. Well, they're partially right about that. But this couple that are standing behind us in this line to get on a ride, they start talking about 2 things: firearms and architecture.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just dying here because it's like, don't say a damn thing. And Andrea sees what I'm doing, and she can hear him, and she's like, you keep your mouth shut. I don't want to get kicked out of Disneyland. Because these people are like talking about all kinds of stuff, and like it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. But I'll have I was a very good person. I kept my mouth shut. Andrea says there's a lot of expressions on my face, but I kept my mouth shut because these people are idiots.
They're not architects.
They're like,
they are.
They're sitting there and they're like, houses built in the 80s and 90s are so much superior to the homes that were built in the 2000s. And I'm like, no.
Maybe if you designed them.
Well, the joists were gigantic that they used to put in those houses, but
it wasn't. So it isn't even that. I mean, like everything about construction has just gotten better. People like to make this funny thing, like, oh, homes built in the 1970s and whatever, they're so much superior because look at the wood. And it's like, okay, yeah, but if you go through and you look at the structural values of all that stuff, they're not great. I mean, if you climb up in my attic, you'll actually be able to see how crappy of like structural materials actually existed, and we just accepted that. I mean, if you walk through a modern house,
that was the best there was. It's like you look at cars from the 40s and 50s in the movies. You're like, I can't believe we drove these shitty, unreliable, horrible cars. But I mean, back then it was like, this is great.
Well, yeah, and I mean, people. What is it they say? People think of the past with rose-colored glasses. And it's like, oh, like everything was so much better. And it's like, well, no, it actually wasn't. Technology exists. And I mean, if you walk through a home that was built in the 2000s, odds are pretty strong that the floors were done with TJIs, engineered flooring. And so they don't squeak. You walk in an old house and it's like, rah, 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 all over the place. People have no
squeaky
concept.
Floors in my house right now, Robert. It's brand new.
Okay, well, then you have a
They're
shitty
supposed to come back and fix the one. The one in the bedroom, my wife, she's like, did you fart? I'm like, no, that's the floor. I swear.
Oh, I've used that excuse too.
Robin, get in the bed tent and zip it up. We're not fighting about the damn floor anymore.
But no, it was a lot of fun.
5 minutes, you can't smell it.
It's because your nose hairs have all curled up. But no, I got back. That was a lot of fun. I felt bad because we were gone. Like we ordered all this stuff through Black Friday, and so we had all the mail held because that's just what you do. But we get back, and there's about 12,000 bullets that had to be delivered. I really felt bad for the mailman. Not so bad that I didn't
on your
order.
Porch?
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Oh, good.
He put them all there.
Solid delivery service from our good friends at the post office. I wish they could take more of their own shit.
But I tell you, I was going to tell you this coming week. So we have our indoor match. It's the only one we're going to be doing this month, just because of Christmas and all that sort of thing. But Milwaukee, a handful of us are like, hey, we should do a CCW match. Okay, that sounds like fun. Then Milwaukee's like, he sends this message not knowing. He's like, yeah, we should do a CCW match. And so our indoor match is pretty much going to be a concealed carry match, and I'll be taking my little Shield Plus with me. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
That will be a ton of fun. That will be great.
9mm?
Yeah, it's my little 9mm Shield Plus, 13 rounds in the gun. And that indoor match is great for that sort of stuff, right? Because they're small stages. They're they're simple, fun times. It's all close up. I think it's gonna be awesome.
That will be a good time. Steven?
Very cool. I've done not much with guns lately, other than I've designed a match for the WDSA, an IDPA match, and I put together a match for a while. So,
you were signed up for you were signed up for Saturdays, but then it looked like you pulled out.
Yeah, plans changed and I couldn't make it. So
I got you. That's okay, dude. It was so freaking cold yesterday morning. It was like, it sucked. And I mean, eventually it did warm up, but
Did you pull out the hand warmers?
Dude, I had my heated vest. I had my little heated, like the hand, like cozy thing that you stick your hands in.
Yeah.
That has the battery pack. And like my sweater and I was so worried about like being cold. I'm like, I'm just gonna go and shoot my PCC. And so I took the 45 ACP, just because I knew that, I mean, it doesn't take that much. And I didn't want to have to like reload it all because that would just been a pain. So I loaded 6 magazines full so I wouldn't have to actually load anything. I was going ultimate lazy route.
Yeah, so I've got some questionable stages, but they sound fun to me for the IDPA match. But
let somebody else walk around that IDPA stuff and say what's illegal. I mean, that's the one thing is it's like I had the last IDPA match I shot before we had IDPA State here, where they had that little cart that would be pulled away and they had this 4-wheel cart and that somebody was pulling it behind you. So it was like, has nothing to do with competitive equity except for everyone tried to be decent to everybody else and pull this thing. And I just you say go, you push this 100-pound dummy off you draw from concealment and shoot this thing that's walking away from you, with 4 rounds, then shoot everything else twice. I just loved it. It was just so much fun.
You should do one, Steve, where you have to like drag something and then penalize somebody.
Shut up. You already got my $100.
Well, it is weird designing stages now because the rules have changed and there's this in the open or is cover available. And so there's a lot of this, like, I'm just not super up to speed on. And
don't worry. Most people aren't.
Yeah, I've shot WDSA. I don't think rules are. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, it just depends.
And You can't be penalized for a non-shooting action. So how do you make sure that people don't like run forward and shoot the targets close? But anyway, so I had to kind of like make some steps. Like, okay, you're going to start kneeling, but you could stand up. But I kind of make it so you don't want to, right?
Yeah,
so anyway.
right. Yeah, it just becomes USPSA rules where it's just like you have to build the stage around what you would like the shooter to do, and not build the stage around the stage briefing. Anything fun or the stage briefing. Yeah, and so it just becomes kind of a pain in the ass. But I think the pendulum kind of needs to swing back to kind of just fun matches. I mean, if we have USPSA and that's fine and that's great for the next 7 months or as long as it lasts. But like the having some fun, just kind of get out there and have some fun little things. I know I could use it in my shooting life.
Oh, and get this, IDPA really doesn't like stages with partial hardcover. Because unless you're like writing the stage description to be like your people, and like the tuxedo target, I think you can't use that where you can shoot down the middle because there's no hardcover that looks like that. Someone would have to be like standing between two close together columns with a gap.
Like, somebody has like one of those button-up armored vests, but then it was hot one day, and so
they just haven't closed it all the way.
Yeah, it's a John Wick. It's
because they all close right down the center, right?
Well, it's a John Wick. It's a John Wick bulletproof sports coat. Like you just say, bulletproof sports coat, whatever.
But Ray's telling me that they really don't like it, and I'm like, well, it's a club match, and he's like, yeah, we can get away with a lot of stuff at the club matches, but apparently they had all kinds of hardcover in the last state match, and headquarters made them take it all out. But that's I don't know. That makes you can make a target. It's still a close target, but you've eliminated a bunch of the scoring area, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
Why would you want to get rid of that?
So Steve, you can't do hardcover. Could I just put like a no shoot?
You can, but there's limits on the no shoots.
How many no shoots you get per?
There's limits on the number of no shoots. So, but you definitely can do that. And they frown. I guess they frown on having the no shoot stapled up to the target. They want it to be on its own stand.
Huh.
Anyway.
Interesting.
Neither here nor there. But we're gonna go set that up Friday. Shoot it Saturday. It should be a good time. First time I've sort of been a match director in a while.
Are you going to do this more often, or is this just a one-off just for funsies?
I'll probably do it 2 or 3 times this year.
Right on. Cool.
It sounds good. If I didn't get done literally when the match was over, maybe I should start earlier, like the day before. Oh,
hey,
wait.
Tom, tell you what, just stop by the house. I'll give you a couple Adderall. You'll be golden, dude.
I literally start I start just walking around like at like 8 a.m. just giddy, just laughing, and I go like, oh, I'm legally drunk. I I shouldn't be allowed to do anything. But no, that's
because you're loopy. You're tired.
I'm just loopy. I'm just giddy loopy, and I'm like giddy loopy or like just like anything but the middle. Like I'll hear the motions. Anything but the donut
Anything
hole.
but stable.
Anything but stable
and happy. Say outside of the stable happy circle.
The name of my biography. Anything but stable. But
that's how he became the king of sweater gang.
No, it'd be fun. I just the one thing I don't get about IDPA is like that. Like we go for a high degree of accuracy, and now what that high degree of accuracy means is no hardcover. So basically they made the target so penalizing that you can't put black on the outside of it, because like the difference between shooting it in the shoulder that's a black and the shooting it in the shoulder now is just 2 seconds. And there's already a big penalty for just shooting it outside into the down one, or hitting the mouth instead of the eyes and the head. And so like they basically made the entire sport hardcover. Because for us, if we were shooting USPSA, there'd be no difference from shooting it down one or basically having a delta. So
it's at the risk and danger of just being cynical. Sometimes you kind of wonder, it's like, well, is it because Bill Wilson is getting old and his ability to hit things accurately is going down, or is there some legitimate reason for doing it? And I mean, I guess the legitimate reason is just what you said, right? You're never going to have a split down the center hardcover vest or something silly like that. But at that point, are we just getting a little bit into the ridiculousness of the game, which is weird because
it's all
still
ridiculous
a game,
anyway,
right?
There are no concealed carry defensive engagements where you fire 18 rounds every time,
right?
Like, it doesn't happen.
And we no longer wear fishing vests around for like concealed carry because no one's concealed carrying strong side hip with a gigantic full size handgun or something like that.
Go ahead.
It's just a little weird, but it very much seems like you go through there and then like every year you read the rule book and it's just like, okay, so it looks like we got 6 people to be really upset about something that happened to them at a match about hardcover, and then they went on a tirade about why is hardcover. It's like, can't we just pretend that like they're standing by something that's partially covering them from one side or the other?
How about they just be quiet about hardcover and let us use hardcover whenever we want? Come on.
Yeah,
we were in one of the shops in Disneyland, and they had we were walking through, and I look, and there's a fishing vest, like one of the fishing vests, and I kind of like motion Andrew, I'm like, hey, look, it's a shoot me first vest, and Dakota's like, what's a shoot me first vest?
Easy, Dakota, not so loud, not so loud.
First of all, lower your voice.
Lower your
voice.
voice.
No. And he's like, what is it? Because when you tell him to be quiet, he's going to do anything but. He's just like his father. But
did you explain it to the couple standing in line behind you?
And also,
concealed carrying.
Also, flooring sucks from the 80s. You guys don't know anything what you're talking about. That's what he said to the couple.
Right? No, it's funny because I like, well, Dakota, if I'm ever a bad guy and I'm doing bad guy things, and say I want to go into a bank and I see some guy and he's standing there and he's got one of these vests on, I know to shoot him first because he's probably a concealed carry guy. He's like, oh, I get it now, Dad. Okay, good idea.
Good idea. Not wear that. But Disneyland's probably the only place that you could walk around with that. People will be like, oh, look at this guy. Because remember, the Disney, what was it? Bill Wilson did a thing on fancy Beretta 92s, and one of the coolest Beretta, or one of the most collectible Beretta 92s is in fact the Disney Security Beretta 92. Which was
said the one from Romeo and Juliet.
It's a Beretta 92 FS that had the shoulder stock that had a folding shoulder stock. So if they had to make some shots,
that it would have had like Mickey engraved into the slide or something.
Probably
like
Pager Beretta, and then it has the Mickey ears, Perito Beretta or whatever it is. And so they would take it out, and so they could whip the shoulder stock out and make shouldered shots. High precision shots.
Today, it would have the shoulder stock, and it would have 2 of your Quonset hut sights slightly offset.
Ooh, a hidden Mickey.
It would have the Mickey ear, so it would have a Mickey ear over here and the barrel down the center, and so you could like literally zoom in like this and make the shots. But that's what it would do. And they were probably going to carry it on a Dominate Defense belt. Head on over to Dominate Defense, use promo code PARA10 and save 10% off of your gigantic gun holding device. The belt's not gigantic. The belt is tight, slender, svelte. Clicks in, supports the weight great, but your gun's getting bigger. And your wallet's getting smaller because Walther wants $1,800. You can't do it. Stay with CZ. Someone at CZ is getting fired for making too many guns. CZ prices are at rock bottom. I'm actually coming around to the whole proposition. But you got to hang it on a Dominate Defense belt. Use promo code PARA10 and save 10% off your order. Also, check out the fine people over there at Rune Tactical. They're trying to give you an extra round in that magazine. They had a Black Friday sale. Check them out. Use promo code PARA10. Save 10% off of your order. And it's still a fine place to get springs and all that other jazz that you need for your magazine service needs. Remember, when you bought the gun 7 years ago, you're more than due to change the spring. So why not add an extra round in there? Don't be that cheap. Head on over Rune Tactical, +1. And get the weight in the gun to hurt your belt. W74 guide rod, save 10% off. Bring up the weight, get the front end of that gun heavy. And guess what? You're going to do it for way cheaper cost than what Walther's trying to put out there for you. If Walther is selling W74 guide rods, $270 per guide rod. I told Kevin, don't do it. He said, I won't do it. I'm for the shooters. And I said, I know you're for the shooters. W74. Robert, Telegram, questions, maybe answers.
All right. From Alex Coco went. What is your favorite PCC AR upper barrel length?
PCC AR barrel length?
Well, my two main ones are 10 inches. I just like that because I like it. I think it's a great compromise between a short upper and something that's accurate.
Because you really don't need any more length for velocity out of a 9mm, right?
No, you really don't. I mean, the biggest thing that you get with the longer barrels is really just accuracy. That's your big thing. There was
really,
yeah.
Okay.
They played around very early on, having a short barrel, like a 4-inch barrel, and then basically a long welded tube to get it up to the 16th length. And it was great because it was light. It worked really well. I have one of those barrels, but their accuracy fall off. They're great for bay stuff, right? I mean, if you're shooting inside of USPSA stages, they're fine. But as soon as you have to start legging those things out, the accuracy starts to fall off on them pretty quick. And so,
you think it's the tube or the barrel length?
I think it's the barrel length.
Okay.
I think you just get a little bit. It just works a little bit better. I think somewhere between 10, 12 inches. Gosh, I cannot remember who it is down southern Utah area. There's a guy who makes a really good setup where it's a longer barrel, but then the comp on the end of it gets it out to the 16 inches. And it's kind of a faux comp situation, but so it's legal.
Okay.
But that works really well. But as far as I like the 10-inch. It's just what's always worked. I've had it on my 9mm and on my 45, and doing it all over again. I'd absolutely go that length unless I was just trying to suppress something.
Well,
and you have to do an SBR for that.
In that case, yeah.
If you want to compete with it in PCC, right, you'd have to SBR it, and then you'd have to deal with what to do. Yes. Or just say you did. And you'd have to deal with transferring out of state. I would say this. I mean, the cost that you would spend on getting a AR-15 upper for 9mm. I mean, there's a lot of really good 9mm that are built around 9mm that are pretty fantastic, which would have probably less recoil and probably a little bit higher reliability threshold. See if I can get my camera to focus up.
Are you breathing heavy on your camera? What's going on?
I don't know what it is. This camera doesn't like me that much.
Is Denise down there?
No. They have they have the like Strybog. Strybog, they have a roller delayed 9mm, so it's like an MP5 roller delay system, and so like that's pretty freaking awesome, and that's $700.
Tom, how long is the barrel length on the MP5 I have?
Like 9 inches.
Okay.
And so those things are pretty good at raining in shots at 100 yards. Like there's a lot of options, and a 9mm MP5 may not be the answer unless you just simply buy one for the $1,200, the AP5s, and then go spend the $120 and get a 50-round Magpul drum and stick in it. Because the only problem with the MP5 is the damn reloading.
Oh, right now.
And getting an optic on them.
For, what was it, $69, I think, about $70 free shipping from Brownells. And they threw in a Magpul, one of the Magpul sweaters. So I'm not going to be in the sweater gang, but I will be in the Magpul sweater gang.
Magpul sweater gang. It might be a little bit better.
An honor to remember. You're not on site on UPS property anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm not, and I don't have to wear a uniform because I'm not customer facing. So I would say, like, for the money you'd spend on an AR-15 one, I mean, unless you're going to really get into how would I say this? It is beneficial in the long run to get in a roller delayed 9mm system.
As long as you're not going to compete.
What?
JP5.
Feel the gun go off?
And you get an actual stock on something like a Strybog with a 40-round magazine or an MP5 with a 50-round magazine. Like those, if you're going to get something that small at a 10-inch barrel and then SBR it, you might as well get a fixed stock on an MP5 and a 50-round drum on that thing and start shooting that.
The biggest challenge with it is that unless you go with an aftermarket trigger, which is like the Timney triggers, or you swap out the lower so that you run the least sporting lower so that you could then put an AR-15 trigger into it, the trigger group in the MP5 is still it's not great by comparison to most everything else. Not good, not bad, just not great.
Strybog takes an AR-15 trigger pack in it.
And there you go, right? So it's a good way to go.
Yep. So there's a lot of good options, and we can wrangle an AR-15 to do a lot of things. I just don't know for the cost per performance if that is really the way to kind of do it.
Well, you're right. I mean, JP made that roller delay. However, they set theirs up,
and it's 30 times better than.
It's probably the best AR on the PCC on the planet. It's insane.
It's unbelievable. There's no two sight pictures. It's just the gun doesn't move.
Yeah, you have to. It's like shooting a 50-ounce CZ. Or like a 2011 that's like 40 ounces. Like you can't add anything because you'll push the gun down because the recoil impulse is so light. You basically cannot physically drive the gun back down. Because every time you shoot, the bullets go lower because you're used to pushing on something. I mean, I think it's definitely a waste of money to buy direct blowback operating systems when cheap.
For a match gun.
When cheap or moderately priced roller delayed systems are out there. It's not like we're asking everyone to buy a $2,700 MP5, you can make an AP5 work in that range, and you can make a Strybog work in that range. And if you want to spend that money, then you would obviously buy the JP. The JP is roller delayed is so heads and shoulders above everything else in 9mm that I don't think it'd be worth the cost.
Yep. From JD Williams, where's all the small pistol primers?
Back on again.
They're right there. Right there.
How dare you, sir?
A little bit over there.
Don't you dare point at a third location.
Right there's some. And then in that room over there is a bunch more.
You got a pallet of them. They're at Robert's house.
I guess like the funny thing is like we all kind of like, we started coming in, we started seeing dropping down cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and well, you were a sucker because you waited. You thought they were going to get cheaper and that they were coming back. No.
It's Christmas time. People are spending their bonus.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, I remember when COVID kicked off and the prices started going up. And, I mean, I was sitting on the shuttle to get back to the airport to come home, and I saw that Shills was selling the Federal Gold Match small pistol for $40 a thousand. And I was basically ordering and texting Andrew at the same time. Like, I need you to get on here and order 2 for yourself because you can only buy 2,000. And then I had somebody else order me, so I got 6,000 of those things. And I had somebody saying, "Oh, if they hit $45, I'm going to stop shooting." Guess who's still shooting? Them. They're just paying a lot more.
Them. Yep. I was like, if it's more than $41, $42, I'm not doing it. And then, listen, I would do some dirty things for $42
primers right now.
I wouldn't call it sex. I just call it illegal. It's the stuff I would do. It would be illegal in Russia. Like that's how bad it would be.
You'd have Sweater Gang cover for you.
Oh, sweater. Well, the sweater would be covered in something. Anyway, next question.
From Mr. Jack Flash. Question about 9mm ammunition. I know this may surprise you, but in Israel, we can only buy factory ammunition. Making it yourself will send us straight to prison, straight to jail. The stores mainly have FMJ in 115 grain and 124 grain. Others are hard to find. Under these conditions, which ammo of the two would be more suitable for a gun with a compensator or a ported barrel?
The 115.
Probably the 115, right? Because it's got more gas.
Yeah. So what gets converted into gas is powder. The powder burns and gets converted into gas. So the more powder charge it takes to move that bullet, the better it is to do it. So even in those 115s, whatever's producing more velocity, hopefully on the back of the box that you can trust, would probably be the best thing to run the compensator.
That seems pretty reasonable.
It's probably slightly better. You may be able to tell the difference.
I've heard that if a 9mm is tuned to shoot, not be shooting major, but if the ports and the compensators are actually tuned for what would be a standard 9mm factory load, the 115 grains actually run pretty darn well because they do have that more gas in them.
Yep.
And so maybe I don't know how I don't know how, like, Smith & Wesson or whoever makes all the comps and porting, if they think about those things. I'm sure they do, because nobody's going to be running a major load out of a standard handgun, right? I mean, not on purpose anyway.
Right. The difference may be small.
Yeah.
What Grantham did a few weeks back, a video on the 10mm Smith & Wesson M&P, the one that has the ported comp, and then he was showing the difference between like baby down 10mm and then full house 10mm, and you see a comp working. There's a comp that is doing some overtime, moving that stuff around. But yeah, velocity is what gets gas, get all that gas burnt out, get it ported off, and get it moving. But it's a weird thing now, is that we went to heavier bullets for softer recoil. Now that comps are being allowed in competition, or in every gun company is making a comped model, it seems like. Now we're going back to your bullets are going to be cheaper because you're paying for less lead in them. So
I can't remember who was talking about it. I think it was like last week or something like that, where they had this conversation of like, you go these heavier bullets because it's softer, it's easier thing, but now you're starting to see people with the lighter weight bullets because they want that slide whipping faster.
Yep.
And it's the same thing. I mean, if you get more gas behind them, which is good, because one of the things I bought on the Black Friday was 4,115 grain bullets. Why? Because they're $52 for 1,000.
What?
That's not bad. I mean, that's pretty good.
On
principle, I'm going to buy it.
You got to text us things like that.
American Reloading,
Shut up, Tommy. Don't tell them that.
But the American Reloading sucks. They took my money. They didn't give me anything. Don't go there.
Yeah, those guys are bastards. Don't buy anything from them ever.
I mean, you get these pulled bullets. I mean, they're pulled bullets, and sometimes
they don't look pulled.
Sometimes you get them pulled, and I've gotten a lot of like I'll be loading, and then I'll put a bullet in, and it'll be like, that thing's not a 115 grain. That thing's a 147. Take that bad boy. It happens because they're pulled mixed. They're pulled bullets, and sometimes you can literally buy lots which are 115 and 124 grain pulled. So you got to kind of do your own sorting. But for 5.9 cents a round, once again, I will do dirty things to get that sweater covered. I mean, it's when you have a full metal jacket bullet for 5 cents, you forget how pleasant and how easy and. Let's see. We've all been playing the coated bullet game for years now, like almost a decade. But you forget when you get a full metal jacket how easy it is to load, how almost bulletproof it is to sit there and put a powder charge behind it and watch those things group. And the way that the barrels are now in the CZs, the Glocks, the Walthers, the HKs, you just put it in there, and then you're just like, oh wow, I shot an 1.25 inch group at 25 yards with a dot. How lovely is that?
It's awesome. And I mean, that's the hard thing about the 115s is, I mean, they're louder. There's more powder behind them, and they're a little bit more whippy. But once you figure that out, they're great. They're great to shoot, which is awesome because over the years, I mean, I've been shooting 124s and 135s forever, and so I just keep collecting all these 115s. I mean, just in that corner right there, there's probably 28,000 115 grain bullets just sitting there. That's a lot of bullets that you can just do something with. And it's not a bad way to go.
And when they do 1450 out of an MP5, there's that's what we like to call in the business a little bit of ass behind it. Like when you see some of those 115s doing like 1,400 feet per second, you're just like, hot damn, that's like a 357 Magnum spitting out there. So
I need to figure out, and I have never actually done it, but the 45s that I shot out of the PCC yesterday, those were made when I initially chronoed them forever ago. So I made those bullets when the three of us shot that IDPA match, and I shot a CDP.
Yeah.
And they were, at that time, 171 power factor out of that Glock 41.
Right on.
I've never shot or chronoed them kind of thing like after that. So, and I have no idea what, that extra 5 inches on the end of that gun is actually going to do those things. But I have a good feeling those things are moving out smartly.
Can't hurt.
Yeah. I pulled it apart though, and I pulled the gun apart to clean it, and the barrel is super clean. So it's not like it's tearing the coating off in the process of coming out. But one of these days, I really do need to just go see what they're actually coming out at, because it's a spicy meatball. You hit one of the poppers at Slipsa, and it goes down like with authority. You hit we shot a Texas Star, and you shoot the star, and you shoot the plate, and it goes into the next bay. And so it's like, okay, there's a little bit of oomph behind that.
When people used to talk about stopping power like 9 versus 45 and 40 Smith and Wesson and all that jazz, you could understand why they thought like that, because when they shot targets or animals, the big old thump drop they got out of shooting gigantic bullets at things, and it's just like, we know statistically this 9mm is going to be great, and it's got a bucket of bullets, and it's all fine. But I'll tell you what, when hardened pieces of copper or just a big old fat chunk of lead hit something with a full metal jacket at 1,000 or 1,100 feet per second, it's pretty impressive. I think anybody could have sold anybody a 10mm in 1990, because you shoot something and it instantly dies like the hand of God hit him. And then you just go, how many would you like? We want them all. We got to win every gunfight. We don't only want to kill people, we want to send them back in time.
I remember watching somebody clear a Texas Star with a shotgun, and they're like, okay, now we got to go walk around and get all these plates back. It's like, it just blows into that.
Oh, man. Let's see. From Connor Williams, does your range host any two-gun matches? And if so, what's the furthest distances you guys will shoot with rifle and handgun?
Whatever the bays will allow, right?
That is 100% the answer right there.
Yep.
Slipsa, we have 100-yard deep bays. The farm has got
400.
How far is that big one?
400.
It's 400. Yeah.
And they even have even have stuff now way up on the hills for long range precision rifles. 600, 700 yards out there that people can go out there and kind of shoot. I don't think it's in there enough to do a match, to actually run a match on, because there could be dirt bikers running up there or whatever up on those hills.
They'll only do that once.
Well,
it's funny. Like,
depending if you hit.
Let's see, how many times have we shot up at LTD, and you'll be shooting there, and then you'll look up, and there all of a sudden there's like hikers coming across the trail above, and like,
oh my gosh!
All right, everybody, stop shooting! Stop shooting!
Yeah, it
happens.
No, it
They're
does.
not supposed to be there.
No,
but you got to wait for them just the same.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully people didn't set up targets where short guys start sending rounds up on a mountain. And just because there's a mountain there as a backstop doesn't mean there's nobody on the backstop.
Mm-hmm.
So,
was it yesterday? Alex went out and he shot. It was a black rifle match at the farm, and I cannot remember. I think it was Josh Thornton. Owns the place, and so
Pew Solutions, yeah.
Pew Solutions. There you go. They put one together, and it sounds like it was really well attended.
Oh, sweet!
And that is awesome. I mean, hopefully the farm can actually start putting on some more of those matches and get some people excited to come out and get shooting out there again. That'd be
really awesome.
Cool.
And it's great because it's the perfect place to hold a rifle match. It is the perfect place to hold a rifle match.
It really is. Yeah.
So
that range is built for that kind of a thing.
Now, do I want to spend? Everyone loves rifle matches until you get there and you spend 3 hours listening to people's comps, shooting 223, and then you're just like, I remember why I don't like open guns. I remember where I don't like standing to the 180 of somebody's comp, just spitting gas everywhere. So
that's why the PCSL rule set is pretty cool, because it allows for suppressors, and so it kind of gives you a little bit of that advantage of not having the comps blow up in your face, which is mildly annoying.
Saves your ears, but the second degree burns exponentially go up as you get done shooting 40 rounds of 5.56 out of a can, and then somebody accidentally touches their leg or brushes up by it, and then walking around with the frying pan on.
Let's see. From Andy Joe Rogan of Sioux Falls, Erickson. Is the board of directors douchey enough to boot Scott as the Area 3 director when he refuses the polygraph?
Absolutely.
He said he'd refuse it.
Absolutely they are.
I don't know. I mean, right now, so apparently the board is going to be meeting tomorrow to discuss the Troy situation, on whether they want to boot him for his actions at Nationals. And I mean, Bruce Gary's going to defend him, no matter what, because I don't know why, but Bruce.
Do I dare ask, what did Troy do at Nationals?
He went up to a competitor and he like very, very much berated him and yelled at him. He was a competitor at the time, but he was going to be staff for the Nationals. And this was Mark Stamper, I can't remember his name, but he was going to be staff, and Troy goes up and he just starts yelling at him, F this, that, and the other, if you don't remove your F and post, things like that. And he did this in front of the squad.
Okay, and what was it about? Some social media post?
Yeah, because Stamper had posted something, probably posted something about...
To 20 people. Shooting. Yeah, to very, very small following, to 20 people. And, but one of those people who saw it was McManus, and he sat there and decided to go after him for it.
Something derogatory about Troy, or what was the...
Troy, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know. It was whether it was about Troy or about USPSA in general. I mean, all of this stuff regarding... like USPSA and practical shooting insights and the stuff that the PSI puts out versus what this, that, and the other. And Stamper, he reposted it. Okay, well, maybe he should, maybe he shouldn't have. I don't know. But when the head of DNROI shows up and he just starts just going after a competitor, because remember, I mean, if you are shooting the match, even if you're going to staff the match, you're still a competitor. There isn't some special competitor RO rule set. You're a competitor at that point, and he's going after a competitor. Now, understand, Troy is an employee of the organization, and so the employees have to be held to a certain standard, just like they did with Yi Min, except for they booted Yi Min. But Troy goes after this guy in front of the entire squad, and then he leaves. And later in the day, Troy comes back and he apologizes, but by then the damage had been done, because how do you shoot a match after you have DNROI show up,
come up and just yell at you, throw you off your game,
throw you off your game, say you're not going to, I'll remove you from this match, you're never going to work another Nationals again, and I mean that's just,
okay, so he lost his cool and screamed and yelled at him.
Yep. So.
And that would be one thing, except for this has happened repeatedly, time and time again, over the years, where Troy's been caught doing these things. And so now the board is finally going to have a meeting. This is what Derek has reported. There's going to be a meeting, and and Stamper's going to give his statement, and Troy's going to be there, and something's going to happen. Here's the interesting question, though, because on the USPSA board, this is just something I was thinking, but on the USPSA board, you've got two people who probably have a conflict of interest. Area 8's Russell Fortney and Area 3's Scott, because they're both RMs. And technically, who's their boss? Troy. So should Area 3 and Area 8 abstain from any, recuse themselves from voting on any discipline? Because, how do you know that they're doing it in a fair and unbiased way?
Well,
kind of a weird question, right? But it's actually pretty valid.
Well, I think that an RM would probably be it's kind of like being judged by your peers. The people that hold the same certifications that you do, that know how to operate a match, should be the guys who most likely should be able to vote.
Well, but that's the thin blue line, right? Are cops going to prosecute other cops?
Well, I'll tell you what. Nothing infuriates me more than watching another UPSer do the job completely the wrong way. Nothing pisses me off more if I see people doing absolute dumb stuff that puts the company in bad light, because I take pride in my work and I want the company to be successful, because they got to pay me a lot of money in a pension, baby. A pension coming in. But so they got to keep that going. So. I think the best. I'm not saying
that cops. Cops are going to defend other cops, but it's the natural question that comes out of it. Will people go against themselves?
The one thing that's in jury selection for a lot of trials. You want people who can identify with the defendant. Like the defense attorneys want people who can identify with the defendant. And then basically you want somebody on the opposite side for the prosecution, a jury but on that, they can identify with Troy, but I think people are kind of tired of it, because I think there's a whole board issue and then there's the Troy issue, and we'll see what the board wants to do with it. But I think if the board can kind of be like, oh, look, we're making changes, Troy's gone. A new softer side, don't look at us anymore. I could see it going either way, but I would probably suggest that they'd probably be gone because Troy needs the board. The board doesn't really need Troy.
Functionally. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I think if this is like, Robert's king for a day, I think what you end up doing, the best thing you can do is deal with Troy. Troy is, and you deal with that. But in the history of USPSA, we've only had two DNROIs. I mean, Amadon and McManus. And it starts to make me ask the question of, should we have a term limit for individuals, like people in the organization, board members, presidents, DNROI? And if we have one for DNROI, should it be something that we are constantly rotating these guys out so that we don't so that they're not just the same guy for the last 15 years?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty valid question to me. I mean, like, I don't think anybody in any organization is so important that they have to be there for their life. This isn't like a welfare program. You should be in, do your job, and get out.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, but they're just employees. But obviously, one thing is, like, if you have bad employees, then they need to be removed, especially if they're harassing essentially what are your customers.
Right.
If someone comes in there, starts yelling at the customers, especially the volunteer customers, it's like yelling at the people at the soup kitchen. I said, serve that shit hot. It is hot.
But no, I mean, as far as the polygraph is interesting.
It's the dumbest thing. Don't take it. It'd be dumbest thing. They'll come after anyone who doesn't want to play dumb retard ball. That's what this is. And they'll come after. So they already removed him from the financial chair. He's the smartest guy that they got on finances. They already removed him. They'll try to remove him for anything because honestly, they see that their votes are going away. And
no, and I get that. The problem is, I think the board. I mean, as far as the polygraph is concerned, I think the threat of the polygraph had its. I mean, it served its purpose, in the sense that it
made everyone laugh.
A lot of the conversation, because you're not seeing Derek post the leaks as much as you used to, but the challenge I had this thought about it, like Scott right now, over, like, it was somewhere over kind of that Thanksgiving area. He actually had this Area 3 roundtable discussion that he did with Joel on Joel's podcast, and he talked about everything like that. And there's a part of me that sometimes wonders. I mean, the thing with politics is always about the art of the compromise and what's possible and things like that. And sometimes I think you get people in there that they. I mean, and Scott sometimes feels this way, where he's like, I'm in here, I'm doing the good fight. And I'm gonna go and do all these things, and people are excited with Scott. They're happy with Scott because he's doing all these things. But in the process of politics, you have to come in there and actually, like, be willing to say, this is good, this is bad, and here's what I can actually get done. And sometimes I wonder if Scott tends to just want to start a fire just to start a fire.
Well, I think,
instead of actually get things done.
Well, the one thing about all politicians is their ability to get anything done is very limited, because they actually have to have a ruling majority to get stuff done. And then even when they get a ruling majority, what they can actually get done is very, very minor.
But that's the thing. I mean, if you know you can't get something done, then do you sit there and try and remove any of the leverage that you possibly had?
You keep talking about what you want to get done till you're able to sway people to go do it. You never stop talking about what you want to get done. And the other thing too is, like, the votes have been good. What people say is whatever. What people do, as Jesus said, by their fruits ye shall know them. When it comes on the line, what they actually have to do, that's what people are due. People can talk about throwing hot coffee on homeless people all the live long day. As long as they don't throw hot coffee on homeless people and maybe volunteer at the soup kitchen, what are they? They're good people.
Yeah.
Last question. Let's do one last question. Let's get out of here.
Damn it! I just lost it. Here, hang on a second. Again from JD Williams. How much do you practice slide lock reloads? How much should you for USPSA? For that matter, does anyone practice malfunction clearance? I shoot a CZ and it has double strike capabilities, and so that usually works until it doesn't, and then I'm like, oh crap! I need to actually do something.
Steve, what do you think?
I mean, kind of like shooting strong hand and weak hand. You should mix some in. You wouldn't You wouldn't want to just waste half your time practicing them, but it's certainly worth having in your arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, there are some stages that you could plan to literally shoot to slide lock. It happens a lot in the lower capacity division, so being able to throw a magazine and drop the slide is beneficial. And I don't think they're between... Honestly...
It's kind of like clearing malfunctions. You want that to happen quite quickly also.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that's what I got to do, you know.
In the Lee Loadmaster days, Tommy was he was a master GM level at clearing malfunctions. I mean, he was really good at it.
Oh, the best was Lee Loadmaster plus Apex Barrel and an M&P plus coated bullets. Those.
Oh, yeah. You could clear malfunction like nobody's business.
Those were
he could get a squib rod down there before the RO even saw it.
Gosh, the bullets that would just get absolutely just caught in that freaking Apex. You would load them at 1.090 and then still get caught. I would say slide lock reload should not take you any much longer than a regular reload because honestly, it's just a thumb position thing when you throw it in there. It is a good thing to do. It is a good thing to do and to practice. I don't think it takes a whole lot more time or practice. Maybe 10% of your reload should be spent at a slide lock reload, unless you're doing a lot of low capacity division and training. As far as malfunctions, I have gone through the tap rack thing and then going to let's look at the malfunction and address it properly to what it is. And I've come back to the whole just do the tap, roll the ejection port to the outside, and then stroke it again to rack it to get the bullet out of the chamber. Because I've seen so many malfunctions become worse malfunctions because of my ingenuity. So
I don't need to. I can take shortcuts. Well, I mean, quite often, most of the time the shortcuts work. Like you just grab the slide and rack it real hard and you're going again.
Or hit it in the back or something like that.
Except when it doesn't. And then you have to do it twice and you have to tap.
Yeah, the one thing that's kind of just the thing that I kind of remembered. I remembered doing a Mag 40 and I remember mass tapping, pinching the slide, and then so if you're right-handed, rotating to the open part of your hand down on the ground and almost putting the magazine up into the air and then cycling the gun like that to get the
trash can fall out.
So the trash can fall out of the gun. And I just remember that's kind of weird or whatever. And now as I've thought I was smarter and then realized I'm not as smart and then coming around to that again, it's just that would clear mostly everything that's going to have a problem with my pistol.
So
slightly related.
As a right-handed, you're going to turn the gun upside
almost
down?
Almost upside down to anything. Because remember, the ejection port, the direction of which the ejection port is or how it's cut doesn't really matter too much on a lot of the pistols like the Walther or whatever.
Sure.
Because even if I'm as a right-handed shooter, I mean, the bottom is still covered up by the left side of the gun, so it's less open on that side. But the fact that I have this, once the extractor is able to pull it, and it touches the back of the ejector, I'm allowing, no matter if it's loose, under tension, or no tension, it comes out. But the one thing that I really want to come out is the bullet that is a full cartridge that made it off the feed lips of the magazine, but is stuck in limbo somewhere with the other bullet. Because sometimes it's not the bullet that caused the malfunction, that causes the additional issue. It's the bullet that was trying to feed. That's now struck, and it's now he's not under extractor tension. He's not going to hit the ejector if it's pulled back, and he's floating out there in space. And to get what causes the problem and the bullet that is now not under the tension of the feed pawl, that becomes important. So rotating the gun underneath to have everything fall out of the gun. The one thing about when you have AR-15s, you strip out the magazine, you start pulling the charging handle, you have the open magazine well on the bottom of it to allow stuff to fall out. Right. And once you strip the magazine out, how many times do we clear malfunctions? And now that we have egress for that round to come out of the bottom of the gun, does it allow that to happen? I'm just saying, tap the magazine, rotate the gun upside down, and then when you stroke the gun, you have an avenue of egress for that stuff to fall out of the gun before you have to go to the next step of creating another avenue of egress, which is to remove the magazine.
This is probably one of those areas where being left-handed is going to be to your benefit because the port is going to be naturally down anyway.
Especially
trying to jam on it.
Especially on a small port gun like a CZ75. You look at a CZ75's port, you're like, what? And then you have something like a Beretta 92, which is it's all port. It's all port. So anyways.
No, I think it's good though, because I think it's good to know, right? I don't think I'm with Steve. You should know how to do it, but I don't think you need to spend a lot of time, because poor Mike Pine, he had a lot of bad ammo yesterday, and so he was having to rack the round out. You need to know how to do that efficiently. A lot of people, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. Ever since I got this red dot on top of it, it used to be, you grab the slide and you try and manipulate it. I use the red dot to palm strike that thing back.
Yeah,
and I just do, because it's this big thing and I can just slam my way through it. It'll put a lot of force on it. Now, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago, when I had the squib up inside the barrel, doing that, it obviously left the bullet inside of there.
Ripped the case off the bullet.
Yeah, and so you're boned no matter what. But I think there's a lot of value in at least knowing what you need to do. I don't think you need to spend tons of time, but certainly in USPSA, if the gun ever goes to slide lock, generally something went wrong. Ask me how I know. In my case, it doesn't go to slide lock, and then it's like an even bigger problem, because the gun goes click, I pull the trigger again, then I realize that, I actually should have put it in. Then I put a new mag in, then I rack it, and by then 4 seconds have passed, and Tommy's in the back laughing his ass off.
So I'm sure everybody knows this, but during load make ready, you want to visually check, make sure you have a round in the chamber, and you want to pull on the magazine to make sure that the magazine 100%. Is seated. And I mean, just if you do that every single time, you're just going to have half as many malfunctions as everybody else who just slaps a magazine, pulls a slide, and assumes that everything's good.
Oh yeah, that Glock, or the PCC that I shot yesterday, when you go to insert that magazine into it, it doesn't want to go. And so, like, just what you said, Steve, you shove that magazine in there, and then rack the charging handle, pull it down a bit, make sure, and yeah, you're super smart to do that. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, we already run the guns under so much tension with the extended magazines and all the stuff we're hanging off the guns. Anyway, like having a set malfunction clearance routine is not a bad idea. It's your gun. You may know exactly what's going to happen or how to clear it. But the processes of using the features or the stuff that you learned sometimes goes to your detriment. I haven't seen double strike work, and when you have a bad primer, it doesn't generally go off again when you double strike it again. If you have
good point.
If you have a primer that wasn't seated properly, good chance you could get it to go in there. But it has to be in the margin. If it's not seated properly, that it still feeds up the breech face so it doesn't hang up. Then it has to be hammered in so it can go there and then get set off. I literally had a case, maybe 500 rounds of 45 ammo that got wet. Primers don't work. Powder sometimes doesn't work. And I literally gave Alex a chore last time we were at the range. It's like, no, we are shooting all this. Bam, bam, click, 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 rack out, bam, click, click. And we got through all 500 rounds out of a SIG P220. But like there was no instance where I had that bad primer where pulling the 20-pound double action hammer, a spring on a SIG P220 gave us anything that was worth anything. Tap the gun, spin it over, rack the thing out there. If you got a big old long gun, put the ejection port as tilted to the ground as you can. Rock whatever's in that ejection port out of that gun.
That's actually a really good point, Tommy. And I was thinking about this. I've actually thought about it a handful of times of how many times has the double strike actually gone in my favor versus just cost me more time.
Just bone you for an extra second, 1.25 seconds.
And I think it bones you more than it saves you. Because the way we are with, think about it. I mean, we go through, we load our ammo, and we all have the hundos. And so we're usually pretty good about checking and making sure that the primers are all seated where they need to. So that problem, which is what the double strike would have solved, really doesn't exist as much as it once used to, possibly. So if we know that and we understand that, then probably I should just be like, just get the flipping round out of there and move on.
We know there's a 99.9% chance that the next one will work.
So let's get there as fast as possible.
Let's get somewhere between a 40 and a 60% chance that the double strike's going to work.
So it's just like, let's just get to the next one. I mean, literally, it's like, unless you're playing Revolver or Revolver, Double strikes generally almost always work on a revolver. You know why? Because they're going to the next bullet. Go to the next freaking bullet. Get the next damn bullet in the gun. Anyways, thanks for downloading, listening, subscribing. Thank you for Steve Koski and Robert Wyatt for joining me on this wonderful episode, like 300 and what are we 390 something? Anyway, 391,
392, 393. We're gonna be 400 pretty quick.
Whatever floats your boat. Anyway, thanks for doing that. Make sure to not get your sweater too covered for primers. And for Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and souls. We depart the open waters of the Sea of Life on a low tub boat we like to call the PARAcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good night, everybody.